I think it's safe to say that Red Bull have a pretty poor track record with keeping their drivers. Over the years, they've had over 85 drivers in their junior program, and do you know how many of them managed to get to the main team and stay there for more than a year? 3. But then again, that's to be expected seeing as Helmut Marko can only see true talent if they stand on his run. The latest victim of Red Bull's genius selection strategy is Alex Albon, who's only just been fired from his seat at the team off the back of what can only be described as a shambolic season. In his place, Red Bull chose to sign Sergio Perez, making this the third teammate for Lord Verstappen in 3 years. Whether Sergio Perez will experience the same fate as his predecessors is still up for debate, but I think I'm right in saying that he signed that contract knowing he's going to be Max Verstappen's slave for this year. So with Alex Albon being the third person to have vacated the Red Bull second seat in 3 years, and with no F1 driver ahead of him, we have to ask ourselves, has Red Bull ruined Alex Albon's career before it's even really started? So without any of my usual waffle, let me get straight to the point here. If Sergio Perez manages to hold his own against Verstappen next year, then we have to draw the conclusion that Alex Albon just wasn't good enough for the team. But then again, when he first joined the team halfway through 2019, he looked to be a really promising driver. So where did it all go wrong? I, like basically every single other F1 fan, would say that the place where everything started to go wrong for Albon was the Brazilian Grand Prix, where Lewis Hamilton took it upon himself to torpedo him out of what looked like it was going to be a maiden podium. Even with that incident in 2019, it looked like Albon had got back into a groove in 2020, and he was on course to potentially win the race in Austria, until Lewis Hamilton pulled almost the exact same trick as he did last time in a bid to remain the only British-born driver to win a race in 2020. We've seen with Pierre Gasly that a talented driver can be put into the Red Bull second seat and still struggle, but with Alex Albon all we got was proof that he can occasionally finish on the podium in the second best car on the grid, which is about as much achievement as winning a race in the 2020 Mercedes. That said, we have to remember that Albon only got half a year of preparation before facing what was effectively the final boss of his F1 career. Sure, other drivers have held up better than Albon and Gasly did against Verstappen, but hear me out here. Firstly, to compare a normal racing driver to the god that is Max Verstappen is always going to be an unfair challenge. Max has the whole Red Bull garage wrapped around his finger, and even the way the car is built reflects his needs. That would be fine for the other drivers if Max's driving style was fairly normal, but sadly for the entire Red Bull Junior program, it's far from conventional. Not to mention, even though he no longer has an F1 seat, Alex Albon hasn't been given the opportunity to go and show us his true talent elsewhere. Yes, Red Bull have said they'd be happy to loan him to another team, but the key word here is loan. He's not going to get a true shot outside Red Bull if they still technically own him. However, even if Albon manages to escape the evil clutches of Helmut Marko, he still has another obstacle to overcome: confidence. Being at Red Bull, even for the short time he didn't out-qualify his teammate once. Of course, he'll be just as aware as the rest of us that he was up against one of the best drivers on the grid at the moment, but even so, as a racing driver, excuses don't get you anywhere. You have to be the best of the best to get into F1, and if you suddenly have to come to terms with the fact that you're nowhere near as good as your teammate in qualifying, and rarely even occupy the same bit of track on a Sunday, then that's going to be a hard thing to come to terms with. Okay, so I just want to pause the video here and point out that as at the time of recording, over 75% of you watching aren't subscribed, so if you do enjoy my content and want to see more of it, then please do press that subscribe button. It's free, really helps me out, and remember, you can always unsubscribe at any point if you don't enjoy my videos. With that out of the way, let's get back to the show. Even if Albon gets away from Red Bull, he's always going to have this looming over him, sort of like a bad omen, but with the face of Helmut Marko. I'm going to have trouble shifting that image from my head now. And as of right now, there are no realistic opportunities for Alex Albon in 2022, and with all but Lewis Hamilton's seat filled for 2021, it's pretty unlikely that he'll get a drive, unless Sergio Perez catches COVID-19 again. So getting back on topic, was Alex Albon's career wasted? Well, yes. He showed all throughout his junior career that while he may not have gone on to win championships in F1, he was definitely going to be one of the better drivers on the grid. And hey, maybe he was the second best driver on the grid, but Verstappen was just so much better that it looked like he was basically the F1 equivalent of Mahavir Raghunathan. Granted, this logic is straight out of the mouth of Jos Verstappen, so we should take it with not just a pinch but a handful of salt, but it's true, being compared to Max Verstappen in just your second year in Formula 1 is a bit shit. Okay, so I'll admit it. Basically everything I've said so far relates to the fact that Albon had to put up with Max Verstappen as a teammate for the majority of his F1 career. But there's other stuff as well. There have been several drivers who've left F1 on their own terms, and even some who've been fired from their seats, but have gone on to race in other high-level seats, like IndyCar, Formula E, and Le Mans. But Albon's choice of series, while he joins the ever-growing queue to be an F1 driver again, is DTM. Sure, DTM isn't a bad series by any means, but when you've just come off the back of driving for one of the best teams in one of the best forms of motorsports, spending the year in DTM is meh. Not to mention, he's going to be driving a Ferrari, so let us all gather together in a collective mourning for his chances next year. If Albon manages to do something really good in the DTM, like, I don't know, win a race or something, then that could be a real boost to his confidence going forwards, and we already know how much confidence affects how someone drives. However, if Albon struggles this season, then Red Bull have essentially just wasted another young talent, and it's all because Helmut Marko was too short-sighted to consider the fact that maybe it's not the drivers that need to improve. And yes, I just had the audacity to call a man with one eye short-sighted. Well then, that's going to do it for this video. If you like the more opinion-based content, then leave a like on the video to let me know you enjoyed it, and comment if you want to see more stuff like this. But yeah, thank you for watching as always, subscribe for more like this, and I'll see you all later.